Hey guys, welcome to my shop. My name's Jeff Jewett, and in this series of videos that I'm going to be putting up on YouTube, I'm going to show you how I'm going to finish this bird's eye maple and cherry table that I built. Now, I really enjoy woodworking like the rest of you do, and like you, when it comes time to finish, I get a little bit squeamish. Hopefully, what I'm going to do in this set of videos is show you how I go through the finishing process, some of the preliminary stuff I do, and hopefully that will make life easier, or a little bit easier for you, at least when it comes time to finishing. Now, what I'd like to talk about first is just some general stuff that you want to do before you start picking up a can of stain or can of finish or whatever and hop to it. This is important preliminary things that you should go through anytime you build anything. The first thing that I always do is that I try to design my projects so that I can take them apart as much as possible. That really makes the finishing process a lot cleaner and a lot easier. Obviously, you want to be able to take the top off. But even when I do things like drawers, I always make drawers with removable bottoms. This is something that I can slide out very easily. And not only does it make finishing easier, but it gives a much cleaner appearance once it is finished. The other thing that you want to do is that before you assemble something like this, sand everything, power sand it to 150. That gets rid of all the machine marks and marks from your saw blade, your joiners, your planers, and all that kind of thing. The reason that you want to do that before you glue it together is it's very difficult to get into corners and things like that after it's assembled to remove some machining marks. So what I've done on this is I've sanded everything to 150. And then I glued it together, and then of course, wipe off all the glue and that kind of thing. The other thing that we want to do with this table is that we're going to actually stain the base. The drawer fronts, the base, that ledge. We're going to leave this natural. I think that this cherry, although it's very pretty on its own if you don't stain it, making it look a little bit like aged cherry is really going to set off a nice contrast to this top. Plus, this color matches most of the other cherry pieces that are already in our house. Now, that will require staining. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in the next video. But I don't want you to feel afraid about staining cherry. I've got a process that's going to make that go a lot easier and give you an appearance that isn't quite so splotchy that cherry is notorious for. Finally, what you want to do is once you get your piece completely sanded, before you start finishing it, wipe it down with some sort of a solvent. Now, I'm going to be using water-based products, so I'll just wipe this with water. If you're using something like shellac or polyurethane or an oil-based product, you can use denatured alcohol or you can use naphtha. The purpose of the solvent wipe is that will highlight any defects that you might have missed that you can go back and correct before you start staining. Things like little, maybe like little tear out in the top that you missed, or some little sand or some little planer marks or something like that on the base. Wiping it with a solvent will highlight that and will allow you to correct that before you do go into the final staining and then the finishing of the piece. So let's get on with wiping this down with solvent and then checking for defects, and then we'll get into staining it and then applying the finish.